guys, it's Lexi. So I'm going to do a review on Suicide Squad. Just so we can get this perfectly clear, there are going to be spoilers. Spoiler alert. You have to the count of 5 to exit this video if you have not yet seen it and do not want spoilers. If you go past this point and you get upset, that is your own fault. I have forewarned you. You have till 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Spoiler alert has now expired. Let's get started. Okay, so the first thing I've heard a lot of people actually complain about is the Joker. Now, if it's one thing I'm actually really fond of, it's actually Jared Leto's performance as the Joker. I didn't see Jared Leto in there. No. It was old Joker. Everyone I've heard has been saying he's a watered down version of Heath Ledger. Now, my question for you here, now think about this very carefully. Now, cast your mind back about 10 years ago to when Heath Ledger was the Joker. Did you ever hear a single person compare him to Jack Nicholson? My money's on the answer, not really, no. There are always going to be different incarnations of the Joker himself. Even if you look at the comic book series spanning back from the most recent one right back to the very beginning where he first shows up, there are different incarnations of him even in that. To which there are plenty of other YouTube videos out there based on what different Jokers there are, so I'll break it down to the most simple format. In the very beginning you have psychopathic murderer, no conscience Joker. He's going to announce on air that he is going to kill someone, bang, and that he's going to rob a bank. And then you know what? He'll do that exactly. He will kill someone and then rob a bank, and that'll be it. And it will be quite graphic. And then extreme censorship came in, to where you had the Joker who was just trying to outprank everyone. He wasn't an extreme threat. Yes, he was still bad. Yes, he still did bad things. And yes, he did hurt people, but it wasn't as bad. He even ends up retiring in this comic series when he thinks he has enough money. Once all of that passed, and it came to the more recent version of the Joker, it's literally that he's mentally unhinged. He's a proper psychopath. He's charismatic, he's smart, but his ideology doesn't line up with anyone else. If he thinks the right thing to do is blow up a school full of children, he's going to see the logic behind it. Logic that we won't be able to fathom because that's the point. To which, looking at it, you have different actors playing different versions of him already. Jack Nicholson, for example, was the prime version of the very first one. In the 60s and 70s, you had, I can't remember what the actor's name is. I guess you'll have to look it up because I'm not going to. I'm lazy. I'm sorry. But he was more of the pranking type. Heath Ledger, I think, more or less correlates with the more recent version of him, where he's actually crazy. With Jared Leto, I think he's a perfect cross combination between the more recent idea of the Joker and the Joker in the very first comic books. I feel, however, he does more correlate with the Joker from the video games. But with all that in mind, I think he did really well. As I said, when I went to go see it, I didn't see Jared Leto, the actor, portraying the Joker. I saw a very believable, very crazy, and quite scary Joker. But that brings me to the next point, which is the amount of screen time he got. I feel as though he didn't have a lot of screen time. He had more screen time than I thought he would have with everyone's complaints. But I enjoyed the screen time he got. It leaves a lingering aftertaste of I want more. And knowing Warner Brothers, they're probably going to deliver on that. They're going to bring out a movie, more than likely, I'm hoping here, please, Warner Brothers, don't let me down on this, where it's going to be pretty much Batman versus the Joker. And hopefully with that, they'll also bring in Harley Quinn, and we can see a better backdrop on the relationship between the two of them. Because in this movie, the Joker is portrayed as a more loving type towards her, which if you've read the comics, or at least have seen a few of them that float around quite regularly on Facebook, then you know that's not quite true. He's abusive and he's manipulative, and that's the point of him. He's not a good character. He's not a good guy. He's not even a polite bad guy. He's evil. To which the whole loving thing he does, I feel, was more to hook the audience, to give us a bit of sympathy and wanting for more. When they do bring it up, I do hope they show it. I mean, if you look around on YouTube at this point, you will find plenty of videos where they talk about the deleted scenes, where it actually shows that side. Like in the scene where he's in the helicopter. You see him push Harley Quinn out of the helicopter to save her. But in the deleted scene, they get into an argument and he shoves her out to kill her. But because they felt that was a bit too dark, and because they felt it wouldn't leave us sympathizing with him or wanting to see more, they took it out. Which personally I think wasn't exactly the best move. I still enjoyed it. It still broke my heart seeing that helicopter go down. Although I do think they could have added in an extra scene with the Joker, maybe to show where he went after the helicopter crashed. But then again, I'm able to fill in most of that with my imagination, which is generally what I do with these sorts of things. What you see on screen versus what you don't see on screen paints quite a big picture. And if you actually take the time out to connect the dots in your own mind, it gives you a more vast understanding of what you're watching. But all in all, I absolutely loved Jared Leto's Joker. I want to see more, and more importantly, I want to know what lipstick he's wearing. The coverage, the colour, and the stay factor is amazing. Now, easiest segue here is to go from the Joker to Harley Quinn. Now, Margaret Robbie did a brilliant job. I found her ability to be that crazy and even then overact on the level of crazy was amazing. Like, she had the right look for it, and the thing I've also heard people complain about is that it's a more slutty version of Harley Quinn, to which I don't understand that statement too well. If you've ever actually looked at the Harley Quinn in the comics, going back from day dot all the way through to right now on Suicide Squad, yes, there are some where she's covered head to toe in a full jester outfit, but again, you see her in a scene where she is wearing it. You see her pick it up out of the trunk to try it on, but decides against it. So I'm still not entirely sure what the complaint there actually is, but again, I liked her costume. Yes, it was revealing, but then again, if you've paid attention to Harley Quinn in any other bit of media that she's been in, it makes perfect sense. And the way she acts towards the Joker is spot on. It's not exactly love that she has for him, it's a level of worship. But one thing I noticed here, which I'm not sure if many other people really did notice it too strongly, it's more insinuated messaging here. There are 3 scenes where this happens. The first thing you notice is when she pulls up the strip that looks like a belt originally, but turns out to be a choker and has puddin' written across it. She kisses it and holds it close because that's obviously something the Joker has given her. And she wears it around her neck as a collar, which in all honesty looks exactly like a dog collar. Now, I could be completely off base here, don't get me wrong, I can take that in stride too, but if you consider it, if that's what he gave her, it's an underscoring statement that she is his, the way some people would own a dog. Secondary part I noticed in the scene where the Joker is laying down, surrounded by knives. When it zooms out, you can see it in the top left corner. There are 2 baby suits, which then correlates with the scene that you see with Harley Quinn when the Enchantress is making her see visions of her and the Joker married. They have 2 babies, which if you have read the comics, you know full well they have had children together. It's just her children live with her parents. But the chemistry between the Joker and Harley Quinn was perfect. It's exactly what I was expecting. It's exactly what I wanted. It didn't show the full-on abusive side like I said before, but I'm hoping maybe with the next movie they bring out, where they bring them into it, they can show it far more in depth. The other main complaint I've also heard with characters is the lack of introduction for a lot of the other characters. I agree. There was not a lot of introduction for any of them. I mean, you have Deadshot, he had a great introduction. We know he's a father, he's mourning the fact that he can't spend time with his daughter and that his ex-wife doesn't sound that great. So we've got a solid introduction on him. We've got a mediocre introduction on Dr. Moon, who is also Enchantress. But then you have people like Slipknot. We barely got an introduction for him. But from what I understand, his character base was not that great. Like, he's a serial rapist from what I understand from what they've mentioned. So I felt his part in the movie was quite well suited. He was there to prove that this neck bomb was actually a thing, and boy, did he go out with a bang. Yeah, okay, I'm sorry, I'll stop. But all in all, the rest of them didn't really get much of an introduction. Like, Killer Croc could have had a much better introduction. He looks like a fascinating character. There's backstory I've heard, there's backstory I've read through the comics, and he's fascinating. I want to see more. And maybe with future movies they can bring him into it and actually give a more in-depth explanation. Dr. Moon didn't get much of an explanation either. We just know she's an archaeologist who stumbled into the wrong cave and unleashed Enchantress. Boomerang didn't get much of an introduction either. We know he's a thief. We know he tends to undercut his partners in it and take everything and leave them behind. And we know he got captured by the Flash. What they leave out is the sheer level of who he is. He is sexist, he is racist, and he's just an outright pig. And that's the point of him. But they don't show too much of that. However, as an Australian, I can see some of the true Australian traits in this character, which I had to laugh at a little bit. Whilst not all Australians in this, obviously, but in it when the fight starts breaking out, he's busy slinking away trying to open and drink his beer. I've actually seen that at parties happen. A fight will break out, someone will pick up their can of beer, try cracking it and walking away without being seen, whilst also keeping an eye on the fight so they don't get pulled in. Katana didn't really have a huge introduction or a really big role in the movie, especially considering she's not a villain, so I'm assuming she will show up in Justice League. Which I'm really hoping she does, because she does seem like an interesting character. Otherwise she just seemed like more firepower and something to keep the villains in line, whilst they were being forced into this role. El Diablo had a pretty decent run through when you explain who he is, but you didn't get a full-on proper introduction to the character itself until much later into the movie. Which I feel wasn't really fair on the character, but his final form was amazing. And I actually quite enjoyed the work he did do. But all of this in mind, the other thing is the villain itself. People have complained a lot that it's just your basic,
I'm going to take over the world and destroy it. Wah ha 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 ha!
kind of copy-paste character. Which I felt wasn't right. You had Enchantress and her brother who were originally gods until the humans turned against them. So this isn't a copy-paste villain. This is revenge. This isn't just, I'm going to take over the world and destroy it. However, there is one thing I will agree on. The whole thing that she does looked a bit wonky to me. But they needed to show that she was the one controlling the magic. And as far as it all goes, she didn't have a wand to do that. She didn't really have anything to work with aside from her own body. And what special effects they put in afterwards. So they probably just told her, hey, try and make it look like you're doing magic. Okay, so you're gonna have to excuse if you can hear Guns N' Roses in the background. Unfortunately, my neighbour has decided right now is the perfect time to blare it whilst he kills the weeds in his garden. Which, unfortunately, I have zero control over. Now, to continue on from where I was going. Past that, the one person I actually thought was a real villain, to be honest, was Waller. You think about it, she just goes in, kills the people that were working with her because they're not in the know. She willingly implants explosive devices into their neck And she would quite happily just go about and kill anyone off to actually meet her objective. But I don't think she's pure evil, she's more lawful evil. Much like a psychopath, she is doing what she thinks is right and what needs to be done, despite the fact that in all reality there could have been a whole other way to go about this. Either way, she was a very strong and somewhat terrifying character, to be honest. All in all, this movie gets a 9 out of 10 from me. I actually thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm hoping to go see it again because if you saw in my last video, the immersive experience was ruined by some Homie G wannabe white guys sitting behind me talking quite loudly. Maybe, if we're lucky, they will bring out in a Blu-ray version, a director's cut, where they allow it to go for the 3 or 4 hours it would have gone for if they didn't cut everything back. Because I don't know about you guys, I'm the kind of person that will happily sit through 6 hours of movie. Just so long as I can have an intermission break every 2 hours. Let me know what you guys thought about the movie in the comment section below. But remember, just because you don't agree with someone else's view on the movie, does not give you the right to be rude about it. If you want to debate the topic with them, by all means go ahead, but please keep it respectful. And now, for something 11 inches, with something round at the end. It's Professor McGonagall's wand, you pervert. Okay, bye.